Good morning. Start your day informed and ahead. Today is Wednesday, the 29th of July. I'm Angela Lagunzad-Castro.
And I'm Cesca Litton-Kalaw. We are bringing you the perfect mix of the headlines you need and the conversations that shape your day.
From the news desk to the digital space, we have got you covered. I'm Pauline Verzosa, and welcome to Morning Matters.
House Prosecution Panel is set to begin presenting evidence today on Vice President Sara Duterte's alleged misuse of 612.5 million pesos in confidential funds. House Prosecutor and Manila Representative Joel Chua said the proceedings will allow the public to see the evidence behind the allegations against Duterte. Among the first witnesses under Article 1 are former land bank officials Violeta Constantino and Nineta Camposano. The Senate Impeachment Court also subpoenaed House Legislative Archives Chief Marivic Pareja to produce records related to the proceedings. Chua said the prosecution will let the evidence speak for itself, adding that the trial should be decided based on facts, transparency, and accountability. All right, so it's going to be today, but I think yesterday, if I'm not mistaken, the House Prosecution Panel has filed a manifestation asking the impeachment court to allow them, the prosecution and the defense, to present evidence alternately. Because ordinarily, ang nangyayari sa kanila is, the prosecution panel has their own time to present each of the articles of impeachment, and then the defense naman will follow suit. And for this article, they allotted 30 days for this article of impeachment. But we'll see what's going to happen because, of course, the decision will still be with the impeachment court if they will allow it. Because if you can remember, during the Corona trial, that was the game plan. Alternate yung kanilang pag-proceed. Para the wisdom behind it is because para daw, let's say for example, natapos na yung Article 1 and 2 and the prosecution feels that is already enough for conviction, then they can stop.
Okay.
Yung presentation of other articles of impeachment.
So hindi na kailangan ituloy.
Yes.
Okay. So the whole point of the manifestation nga is to speed up the trial and to save time. But also, the defense isn't scheduled to present their evidence for months.
Exactly.
Yes.
So
baka hindi sila ready. Oo, that's true.
Baka nabulaga sila dito. But I understand also the logic behind it because also as viewers, can you imagine everyone watching na okay, natapos sa prosecution yung Article 4. And then 1, 2, 3, whatever. And then babalik tayo.
Yep.
Sa
To
Article
remind
4.
ourselves.
ano ba pinag-usapan ulit doon? Ano nangyari
that's
doon?
true.
So I do feel also it's better na tapusin na.
It's logical.
It's
to
more
do
logical.
that.
Para makadesisyon na kayo dito, tapos na yan, let's move on to the next article.
Kasi grabe na yung grave threats, di ba? We already talked about it for 3 weeks.
Yes.
And then a few months later, babalikan na naman natin siya. May mga witness yung defense na sarili lang ipipresent. Pero I remember Attorney Michael Poe was saying na for them, they're hesitant kasi nga hindi sila prepared. That's not part of their game plan. Mahirap naman na bigla nyo na lang, sige, na kayo dyan, do your arguments. So, we'll see how the impeachment court will be ruling on this. But today, the confidential funds, the article on confidential funds will be tackled already and the prosecution will begin with 2 witnesses, as Angela mentioned, the 2 former land bank managers.
Yes.
And ang tingin ko dito, what the prosecution will do is they will establish first the paper trail, the withdrawals, how the money was processed before they move on doon sa bigger allegations of how it was misused, diba?
Yes.
Dito na dumadating yung mga ghost recipients, Mary Grace Piatos, Miggy Mango, mapapatunayan din ba ng defense if the funds were actually used properly or will they justify it by saying confidential kasi yan so we cannot disclose where it actually went.
Kaya sinasabi nga, di ba nila Senator Ping Lacson even before pa na although in confidential funds you are allowed to use codes or aliases but you cannot hide from that reason because meron pa rin kasi in the DBM or COA's rules meron dong section doon nagsasabi na you have to disclose on certain particular persons yung mga ginamit mo sa confidential funds. But going back to the impeachment court, they will have to, I think, settle that manifestation yung sa schedule because before they move forward. And we can also expect who knows, no, today na meron din tumayong senator judge doon na manifest ng mga nangyari over the weekend because I'm talking about the splice video of the camp of Senator Pia Cayetano because alam naman natin that the senator judges should be impartial on this, so baka may mag-raise ng ethics doon, we'll see. And sila lang naman na makakasagot niyan, the impeachment court, ano, kung ano yung pwede nilang gawin in that particular issue.
I remember talking to Senator Mig Zubiri nung Monday din, tinanong ko ano bang gagawin nyo as a majority floor leader na rin about this conflict nga with the minority. Sabi niya, idadaan daw niya sa ice cream diplomacy.
Okay.
Ube ice cream.
Bibigyan niya ng mga ice cream yung
To
mga
be
tao.
exact.
Okay.
Oo. So, at the end of the day, they want their issues to be resolved and settled. Pero mahirap din kasi it's also dominating the headlines. As you know, ginagamit yung impeachment court itself to air their grievances.
Well, nag-start na rin naman ang Senate, so baka
They
i-move
have a
na lang.
proper avenue
Meron na
already.
silang, basta yung 10 to 3 is impeachment. So after that, please, go.
Still in the Senate, now in his contra sona, Senate Minority Leader Alan Peter Cayetano said political slogans and promises are not enough and the government must present a clear plan. Cayetano said corruption remains the country's biggest issue this year, calling for genuine reforms instead of a continuing blame game. The minority leader also appeared to take a swipe at President Marcos as he delivered his response to the president's fifth State of the Nation address. And parts of the speech were delivered before noticeably empty seats as several senators skipped or left the session hall during the contra sona.
Sabi ng Pangulo, I am president not only of my family, and it is worth yung palakpak na binigay sa kanya. But can we add, the president is also not only the president of the administration, he is also president of the opposition.
Okay, so what I found interesting doon sa contra sona ni Senator Cayetano yesterday, is he really focused on defending the minority and opposition senators. Yes, he touched on other issues such as yung dapat magkaroon ng living wage ang Filipino workers, but mostly he focused it on defending sila Senator Rodante Marcoleta, Senator Jinggoy Estrada. He even called them political prisoners. He also said that Senator Bato de la Rosa is fleeing justice because parang
Unjustly.
unjust.
Because he cannot get justice.
Because he cannot get
Okay.
justice. So now you have Senator Alan Peter Cayetano calling on President Marcos to ensure na merong equal justice for everyone, right? He even said, that was a quotable quote, the president is not only the president of the administration, he is also the president of the opposition. But I think the question there is, can they really claim that this is selective justice when there is evidence naman din for the charges that these senators are facing?
And a lot of the time was spent on defending or questioning the detainment of Senators Jinggoy and Senator Marcoleta. And yung natanong ulit, should they be allowed to attend the impeachment? Who gets to decide this, by the way? Because he's been raising this question for quite some time already.
So there's a manifestation on the side of Senator Marcoleta asking the court or asking the impeachment court itself to find legal ways for them to join the impeachment trial. But of course, if you will look at it on the bigger picture, Senator Jinggoy Estrada is currently suspended because of his case. And under the law, sa Plunder Act natin, if there's a valid information, then you will be suspended for 90 days. And that is not happening yet with Senator Marcoleta because sa stage pa lang sila ng mga reply, etc. So we'll see what's going to happen. So if they want to participate, they will need to seek court's approval on that. So parang hindi naman din wala sa impeachment court yun. For me, yun ang nakikita ko dito. And then also dun sa contra sona, well, that's democracy for you. Ganun tayo, we are in a democracy, and kung merong mga pagtatalo or opposition on the side, talagang they are free to do that. And tulad din ng nabanggit ko dun sa mga last discussions natin na is President Marcos doing enough on the agriculture sector, knowing that this is really close to his heart. Yan din isa sa mga tinira ni Senator Alan Peter Cayetano yesterday, and saying na talagang kulang pa kulang pa yung nagagawa ng administrasyon. And sabi niya, the agriculture, this I have to agree with him, that the agriculture sector has been neglected for over 4 decades na now, and they're the most important sectors here in our country as well. So, yun yung mga sinabi niya yesterday. But we'll see. Ay, si Senator Pia Cayetano yesterday also presented kontra SONA, pero apparently yung parang konti na lang yung audience niya. Oo, nakita ko nga. Pero sabi nga nila, kudos to Senator Risa Ontiveros. She stayed there. Sabi niya, dahil yun na, parang she respected her enough to stay and listen to her kontra SONA. But I don't know what are the other reasons of the reasons of the other senators for not listening to her kontra SONA.
So, sinabi din ni Merrimon kahapon na the majority senators, well, technically they were free to leave na rin naman kasi tapos na yung legislative agenda. Well, at least for yesterday, Senator Erwin Tulfo was able to file 2 bills pertaining dun sa amending the EPIRA law. Senator Tito Soto also filed a bill already doon sa pagtaas ng tax exemption threshold.
350.
So, as far as they're concerned, nagawa na nila yung kanilang legislative duties. And they didn't stay for the kontra SONA.
All right, moving on to the Office of the Ombudsman, who has ordered former House Speaker Martin Romualdez to answer allegations in connection with the flood control scandal. The anti-graft body gave Romualdez and his co-respondents 15 days from receipt of the order to submit their counter-affidavits. Assistant Ombudsman Miko Clavano said the case will be submitted for resolution once all parties have filed their affidavits. The development came a day after President Bongbong Marcos said in his SONA that multiple cases against Romualdez could soon be filed. The Office of the Ombudsman also thanked the Marcos administration for allowing it to carry out its institutional mandate independently. So the supplemental complaint affidavit for plunder, direct bribery, graft and corruption, money laundering was filed July 20. Yun na nga, so 15 days upon receiving the complaint, and they're also accused of alleged concerted and coordinated acts in unlawfully amassing, accumulating, and acquiring ill-gotten wealth amounting to approximately 56 billion
Can you imagine?
pesos. That is an insane amount.
In just 3 years,
In
2022 to 2025.
That number is beyond our comprehension as mere income earner.
Hindi, di ba? Can you imagine? And others are quick to say na, okay, pag binawasan yung tax ng middle class, ito yung mawawalang revenue sa atin. Eh, this one is 56 billion
na yun eh.
Di ba? Di kayo nang hinayang doon.
So, I mean, again, are we not paying enough tax or are our taxes just not going where they're supposed to?
Doon ako sa pangalawa, di ba?
So we'll see then if the camp of the former speaker will be filing its reply indeed within 15 days. Kasi remember, in the past few weeks, the Office of the Ombudsman reported that the former speaker has been trying to flee the country. Kahit na meron siyang hold departure, precautionary hold departure order. He's been trying multiple times to leave. Not just once, pero sabi ng ombudsman, multiple.
Oo, yun na nga eh.
The
Tapos
camp
yung
has been saying
visa
he'll
niya
face
and US
everything
passport niya is also canceled na. So, if ever he is going to leave the country, somewhere
Backdoor exit, yeah.
somewhere down the road. Pero hindi, you have to remember, Ombudsman has tagged former Speaker Martin Romualdez as the central figure of the flood control scheme. No, a scheme that is built on diversion of public funds, 'di ba? Na supposedly for the flood control projects natin. And of course, don't forget Zaldico, which is the chairman ng small committee niya, kasi sinasabi nga nila, doon nagmula lahat di ba? And we all know the 2025's budget, it's the most corrupt budget in PH history, and under that, na-disburse yung mga budget through the small committee. Doon daw nangyari yung mga, alam mo na, bigayan kung saan-saang distrito. But we'll see what's going to happen kung talagang mafa-filean to ng case, at pag-file ng case sa kanya, makukulong, at syempre, the hunt for Zaldico is still on.
Asa na ba si Zaldi mo?
Ewan ko, Zaldi mo yun.
Basta hindi Zaldi ko.
Don't go away, Morning Matters will be back after a short break.
Welcome back. You're still watching Morning Matters here on One News. And now for the latest on the weather, Pag-asa continues to monitor a low-pressure area inside the Philippine area of responsibility. It was last located over the coastal waters of Rapu-Rapu, Albay. Pag-asa said it is unlikely to develop into a tropical depression within the next 24 hours. Meanwhile, Antipolo and Cainta in Rizal have already suspended classes at all levels in both public and private schools due to the bad weather. Day 10 of Vice President Sara Duterte's impeachment trial now shifts the spotlight from alleged grave threats to the trail of more than 600 million pesos in confidential funds. And now let's get the latest from mobile journalist Amy Atienza. Amy, what can we expect today?
Yes, Pauline, ngayon nga ay inaasahan yung magsisimula ng presentasyon ng prosecution pagdating doon sa Article Number 1 or doon sa confidential funds ni Vice President Sara Duterte. Kung maalala natin, Pauline, nung nagdaang Justice Committee hearing sa Kamara, ay dito nga naisiwalat yung sa notice of disallowances, pati na rin yung disposal ng 125 million pesos sa confidential funds ng Office of the Vice President in less than 1 day. So ngayon, meron silang isinabsina na former land bank managers na sina Violeta Camposano at si Nenita Constantino at inaasahan nga natin na magkakaroon sila ng kanilang testimonies pagdating nga dito sa confidential fund ni VP Sara. Ang in-expect din natin ay makita nga din yung kung saan nga ba na-spend yung mismong confidential fund at intelligence fund si Vice President Sara Duterte. Kaya tuloy-tuloy ang nagiging preparasyon ng prosecution pagdating nga doon sa ginagawa nilang presentation at preparation doon sa mga pieces of evidence at documents na kinakailangan. So bukod pa kasi dyan, Pauline, ina-expect din natin na after nitong former land bank managers, magkakaroon din ng presentation ng prosecution pagdating naman doon sa Legislative Archives Department ng House of Representatives. Pero titingnan pa rin natin kung ano nga ba yung magiging daloy talaga nitong buong proseso ng impeachment trial pagdating sa confidential funds. Dahil inaasahan naman na more than 31 around 31 trial dates ang ilalaan ng prosecution for the presentation of confidential funds. Pauline?
Amy, can you tell us, nabanggit mo nga na ang unang magiging witness ng prosecution ay yung dalawang former land bank branch managers. Ano ba yung gustong i-establish ng prosecution pagdating dyan? Yun ba yung paper trail na tinatawag?
Yes, Pauline, yun yung idea pa lang na nakukuha natin kasi so far kapag nagtatanong tayo kung ano nga ba yung mga parang documents or pieces of evidence na gusto talaga nilang makuha ay or maipresenta pagdating dito sa trial, ayaw pa nilang mag-disclose talaga ng merits or strategies na may papakita nila mamaya nga ngayong araw. So, tinitingnan natin na ito nga yung sa paper trail kung saan nga ba talaga napunta yung the confidential funds ni Vice President Sara Duterte. As we all know, land bank ito yung government bank, So, doon siguro makikita kung saan nga ba, kung paano yung paglabas at pagpasok ng confidential funds. Pero this is only what we could also assume based lang din doon sa nangyayari at doon sa naging, doon sa nakapaloob sa article of impeachment.
Amy, last question. Alam ko, inilista ng prosecution si Mary Grace Piatos bilang kanilang witness para sa article na ito. Alam nyo na ba kung kailan iprepresenta ng prosecution itong si Mary Grace Piatos, supposedly?
Well, so far, Pauline, wala pa tayong idea kung kailan nga ba ipepresenta ng prosecution itong si Mary Grace Piatos. Pero sinabi naman nila na itong ang pagsasabti na rin kay Mary Grace Piatos ay parang very crucial, lalo na dahil yung non-existence niya or yung existence mismo ang magpapatunay doon sa confidential funds na ginasta nga ng Office of the Vice President at maging na Department of Education. So, titingnan natin kung paano nga ba tatakbo yung trial. Pero nakikita rin kasi natin na doon nga sa base lang din doon sa nangyari sa Article Number 4 or doon sa grave threats, may possibility din kasi na i-withdraw itong mga mga pangalan na nakapaloob doon sa pre-trial order. So yun pa yung tinitingnan din natin if ipupush through pa ba ng prosecution na tawagin nga si Mary Grace Piatos, or if nakita naman nila na sapat na yung naipakita ng mga first witnesses, baka hindi na din natin talaga makita na emotion pa nila to subpoena Mary Grace Piatos.
All right, thank you very much for that report. That was mobile journalist Amy Atienza. And now at this point, let's get the latest from the defense. We now bring in mobile journalist Arles de los Santos. Arles, handa na ba ang defense para sa ika-10 araw ng impeachment trial?
Pauline, so far ngayon ay wala pa tayong nakikita ng mga legal counsels mula sa defense team ni Vice President Sara Duterte para sa pagpapatuloy ng pagdinig para sa kanyang impeachment trial, no? Kung saan nga ngayong araw ay naasahan na nabubuksan ang paglilitis para doon sa Article 1 o yung umunoy nga paggamit ng confidential funds ni Vice President Sara Duterte para sa DepEd at maging sa Office of the Vice President na aabot daw ang halaga sa 612.5 million pesos. No? Matatandaan natin, Pauline, na dito sa article na ito, iginiit ng kampo ni Vice President Sara Duterte sa kanyang tugon sa mga articles of impeachment sa kanya na mismo si Pangulong Bongbong Marcos daw ang nag-approve ng kanyang confidential funds, no, na syempre pinadaan sa Department of Budget and Management maging ni dating Executive Secretary Lucas Bersamin, pero ang iginiit naman ng prosecution, no, ay opisina mismo ni Vice President Sara Duterte ang gumamit umano ng pondo o nag-facilitate at later on nga nabisto yung umano yung mga kahina-hinalang mga pangalan na nakatanggap umano ng confidential funds at ng ilan dito ay mga tunog chichirya, may mga pagkakahalin tulad sa mga brand ng telepono o maging sa ilang mga prutas, no? So nung binalidate yan sa Philippine Statistics Authority ay marami umano sa mga yan ay wala ngang mga birth certificate, no? So talagang crucial yung pagpresenta din naman on the other side, no, sa prosecution ng kanilang mga witnesses. Pero according sa defense sa kanilang mga nagdaang press conferences, no, patuloy naman yung kanilang paghahanda sa bawat articles of impeachment kay Vice President Sara Duterte. Pero Pauline, kaninang umaga ay narinig natin, no, sa isang radio interview mula kay Senate President Win Gatchalian na hiniling daw ng prosekusyon na magpresenta yung defense side ng kanilang argumento sa bawat articles of impeachment. So originally, Pauline, ang latag ng pre-trial ay bawat articles of impeachment ay tatalakayan muna ng prosekusyon. Magpepresenta sila ng kanilang mga witnesses at ng kanilang mga ebidensya bago magpresenta ang depensa. Pero ang gusto ngayon mangyari ng prosekusyon, pagkatapos ng bawat articles of impeachment, for example, itong Article 4 tapos na, gusto ng prosekusyon, ipresenta na rin ng defense side ang Article 4 defense nila at kanilang mga witnesses, pero hindi pumayag ang depensa dahil ayon sa kanila, na-plansya na, no, sa pre-trial order yung pagkakasunod-sunod at magkakasunod-sunod ng articles of impeachment dito nga sa ni Vice President Sara Duterte.
Pero Arles, today rin ba inaasahan na magpasya o mag-rule ang impeachment court patungkol dyan sa proposal nga na magkaroon ng alternating presentation of witnesses? Kasi mag-move on na tayo sa susunod na article today.
So far, Pauline, hindi yan pinayagan or inagrihan, no, ng defense side kasi ayon sa kanila, na-plansya na nga ang presentasyon ng articles of impeachment kung saan kailangan magpresenta muna ng prosekusyon ang 4 na articles bago magpresenta naman ang defense side ng kanilang mga argumento at mga ebidensya para naman doon sa mga alegasyon kay Vice President Sara Duterte. Ayon kay Senate President Win Gatchalian, kailangan daw kasing magkasundo yung dalawang panig, no? Pumayag ang depensa sa gusto ng prosekusyon at kung may gusto din ng depensa, kailangan pumayag din ang prosekusyon, no? So far, hindi yan napagbigyan, kaya magpapatuloy na ipepresenta ng prosekusyon yung lahat ng articles of impeachment at allegation kay VP Sara bago makapagpresenta ang kanilang ng kanilang depensa, ng kanilang argument rather, ang depensa.
All right, so the schedule of presentation will remain the same. But thank you very much for that report. That was mobile journalist Arles de los Santos. And now in other news, the Energy Regulatory Commission says it expects to play a role in the proposed PAC Silica project, particularly in regulating its power supply requirements. In an interview with Storycon, ERC Chairman and CEO Francis Juan said power plants linked to the project will still need to secure certificates of compliance. The Commission adds it will assess what regulatory framework may be needed given concerns over the project's potential share in Luzon's total power capacity.
Ngayon, wala kaming aktual na mga impormasyon o datos kung ano talaga ang kakaining kuryente ng PAC Silica. Pero siyempre makikipag-ugnayan tayo sa Department of Energy para alam natin kung ano ang regulasyon na kakailanganin. Kasi ang aming mga impormasyon tungkol dito ay nanggagaling mula sa Department of Energy sa tuwing kami magkakaroon ng pagpupulong. So wala naman kaming direct na paminsan ay naiimbitahan tayo dun sa mga meeting sa palasyo pero hindi kami direkta na kakasama dyan.
Now, don't go away because Money Talks with Kathy Yang is up next to get you ahead of the markets. I'm Pauline Verzosa. Stay tuned to One News.
Good morning mga kapatid. You are still watching Morning Matters. The Senate Impeachment Court is set to shift its focus today to Vice President Sara Duterte's alleged misuse confidential funds. On the 10th day of the trial, prosecutors are expected to open Article 1 and present former Land Bank branch managers with first-hand knowledge of multi-million peso transactions involving the office of the Vice President. Among the possible first witnesses is a former Land Bank Shaw Boulevard branch manager. Prosecutors say Duterte's special disbursing officer withdrew a total of 125 million pesos from the branch in 4 transactions from December 22 to September 2023. Another possible witness is a former Land Bank DepEd branch manager who allegedly witnessed withdrawals in 2023. The court will proceed with Article 1 despite the prosecution's request to require the defense to present its evidence after each impeachment article. The defense opposed the proposed change in order of presentation.
All right, and joining us now is constitutional law professor and book author, attorney Jennifer Reyes. Good morning, attorney. Welcome back to Morning Matters.
Good morning, ladies. Good morning to your
morning.
viewers and listeners.
All right, well, today, attorney, we resume the impeachment trial for the 10th day, and now we will be moving on to the next article, which now focuses on the alleged misuse of confidential funds. But first, attorney, tell us, what must the prosecution prove first under this article so that they can show and establish that it is an impeachable offense?
Well, of course, they must establish that there is indeed a systematic misuse of the confidential funds or misappropriation of the said confidential funds. We are talking about 500 million pesos of confidential funds, and another amount is 112.5 million confidential funds. So the prosecution truly needs to prove that indeed these were utilized illegally or irregularly.
All right. Of course, as we were discussing here earlier today, that Senator Panfilo Lacson has said before that a confidential fund, although is allowed to use aliases or codes, you cannot hide from that reason and not divulge the money trail. So the question here, where does the law draw the line between protecting intelligence operations and ensuring accountability for public funds?
That is a good question, Ms. Angela. The public must know that the term confidential funds, it does not mean that it is an absolute rule which states that, the public has no right to be informed about the nature or how these funds were utilized. This just means that since they are confidential funds, it just follows, or it is governed by a specific commission on auditing rule. But then if the COA finds or flags these expenditures to be irregular or unlawful, it loses its confidential nature. Hence, the public or the COA itself can disclose the said confidential funds, and dito napapasok yung may karapatan ng taong bayan na malaman kung kani-kanino mo ibinigay talaga yung mga confidential funds na ito. So just to clear the misconception that since it is confidential funds, the public does not need or does not have to know.
With the words thrown around in the impeachment proceedings, betrayal of public trust can be a vague concept for many people. But when you talk about the misuse and misappropriation of confidential funds, this is something more concrete. This is something easier to establish with a paper trail and more evidence, a lot of documents. But for the public to understand, how exactly is this a more concrete way of, proving an impeachable offense?
Well, of course, betrayal of public trust, just like what I stated in my past interviews, it does not even need to be criminal, right, under the revised penal code. Pero para sa akin, mas matindi nga ito yung alleged systematic misuse of confidential funds. Kasi taong bayan na, pera ng mga Pilipino ang di umano'y ninakaw mo dito at hindi mo ginamit sa tamang paraan. That is why, in its purest sense, if the prosecution can establish that indeed these confidential funds were stolen or were not used properly, betrayal talaga ng trust sa'yo, ng mga bumoto sa'yo ng mga Pilipino. So this is indeed an impeachable offense under graft and corruption, betrayal of public trust, and culpable violation of the Constitution if it will be proven that these confidential funds were indeed not used properly.
Well, attorney, just like you, a lot of legal experts are emphasizing that this impeachment trial should not be compared to a criminal trial, right? But what do you think the standard of evidence, the standard of proof should be for this particular article? Can the mere non-compliance of procedural requirements constitute already an impeachable offense?
Well, non-compliance with a technical or procedural requirement in its general sense does not constitute automatically to an impeachable offense. However, since we are talking about actually the prosecution has so many testimonial and documentary evidence that will be laid out here, right? Just to name a few, the testimonies of the NBI reports indicating fabrications as to the acknowledgement receipts, the Philippine Statistics Authority certifying that most of the receipts submitted were the people named therein do not even have birth records, death records, or marriage records. So as to the non-compliance of procedural requirements, that is not a problem. However, doon sa dami ng ebidensya, doon mahihirapan ng depensa, in my humble opinion, to refute these documents. Labanan na ito ng dokumento. Paano nila mababangga itong mga di umanong falsified liquidation reports that the Vice President or the Office of the Vice President submitted to the proper agencies?
Well, attorney, it's good that you mentioned ito na yung labanan ng dokumento, because to our point earlier that the confidential funds remain subject to audit under the circular, under the COA DBM joint circular. So, ibig bang sabihin nito, attorney, that in the impeachment trial, if the defense fails to show itong document na ito under the DBM, COA DBM joint circular, talagang medyo tagilid sila doon.
Yes, indeed. Just like what I mentioned, if the COA, to recall, certain transactions were flagged by the COA with respect to these confidential funds. Isa na rito yung sa youth leadership summits na finlag ng COA kasi sabi nung mga di umano'y commanders, they did not receive the said amount. Another issue was the safe house rentals. Millions of pesos were allegedly utilized within just 11 days, ranging from 250,000 per day sa pagrerenta lamang di umano ng mga safe houses. Ito yung mga dapat ipaliwanag. Ang mabigat dito, the prosecution has evidence backed by certifications from the appropriate government agencies like the COA, NBI, PSA. So it's interesting how the defense will refute the same. Will they state that, no, those certifications are fabricated or whatnot? It is truly hard for the defense to refute it. That is why it would also be interesting, the new scheme or the new alternate presentation of evidence if the defense do not or does not have counter evidence with respect to Article 1, this will be disadvantageous to them if this new presentation of evidence scheme will be implemented by the impeachment court.
I'm glad that was brought up already because, again, the defense was not expecting to present their evidence for months now. Let's say this manifestation does push through. Let's say that the impeachment court allows the alternate presentation of evidence. I mean, how can the defense fast track? How do they address this? How do they resolve this?
That is actually, I commiserate with the defense. I commiserate with the defense, especially this particular article, the alleged systematic misuse. Just like what I stated, if the alternate presentation of evidence will be implemented right after the presentation of evidence of the prosecution, of the evidence I mentioned, the defense needs to present their counter evidence already or to counter or refute the evidence against VP Duterte. So I'm actually also, at a loss how they will navigate. Because how can you refute these official documents? So it would be interesting to know their strategy regarding this. But in my humble opinion, it will be very difficult. But just to mention, I do not personally believe in surveys. But if the camp of VP Duterte believes in surveys, we have already heard that her trust ratings dwindled. So, and the impeachment is a big factor why it dwindled. So the defense needs to be very careful as to their strategy because if they cannot present counter evidence, if they cannot rebut the allegations of the prosecution, then there is a tendency, or I can confidently say, that her ratings will steadily decrease in the coming months.
Well, attorney, speaking of the defense's strategy, what if the defense argues that the irregularities were committed by the staff themselves, the subordinates of the vice president, without her knowledge? Does the prosecution need to prove that there was intent that the vice president really authorized these anomalous transactions, or can they prove that she can be held accountable just based on accountability, on command responsibility?
That is a good strategy. If I were the defense, good thing you mentioned that, they can do that. However, if that particular defense truly did not happen, it is so hard to advance. That proposition is so hard to advance because you basically need to instruct these people or subordinates to testify that they did this on their own volition, right? That the vice president has nothing to do with it. So it's also dangerous. But as to the command responsibility, I believe that is also correct because as vice president or even a president, even any other public official, you have this responsibility, of course, to supervise your subordinates and make sure that they are not committing graft and corruption.
Well, Attorney Jen, I think the big question here as well is that why does the OVP has or have confidential funds anyway, even the Department of Education as well. Could this set also a precedent that it's high time na we should determine talaga the departments or agencies na dapat talagang merong confidential funds?
Yes, I agree with that totally. It is high time. This is the perfect time to, not distribute confidential funds loosely. I mean, the government must truly distribute or allocate these confidential funds to those government agencies which are specializing in intelligence gathering, concerning national security. Because, for example, as a Department of Education secretary, I mean, I don't think it is apposite or germane to your position to have confidential funds. And this was already done in the past. former Vice President Leni Robredo had no confidential funds during her time as
Exactly.
Vice President, if I'm not mistaken, or if I recall it correctly. So yes, confidential funds must be limited only to those government agencies which
That deals with
specialize in national security
Yeah.
and sensitive information gathering.
Attorney, let's talk about scenarios here because if the bank and tax records of VP Sara and her husband, Attorney Man Scarpio, sufficiently explain the increase in net worth in the SALN, does this mean the impeachment court has to acquit in Article 2? Conversely, if there is a huge discrepancy, will this be the nail in the coffin? And with certain political leanings that we've seen, do we dare hope that things will be this simple?
As to the first question, actually, as early as this article, Article 2, if the Vice President cannot explain or the defense cannot explain kung saan napunta ang daang-daang milyon na confidential funds, this is actually already the nail in the coffin, in my humble opinion. It will be irrelevant even if under Article 3, the defense can satisfactorily prove that there is no discrepancy as to the wealth of VP Duterte and her husband. So for me, this Article 2, if proven with sufficient evidence, is already the nail in the coffin.
Well, attorney, for this particular article, the prosecution has listed Mary Grace Piatos as a part of their witness list. Ano? Yan talaga yung naabangan natin. Will a person show up as Mary Grace Piatos? So what strategy are you seeing there from the prosecution? And if no one does appear, how big of a setback is that for the defense?
It will be a huge setback for the defense, right? Because aside from the fact that we have these records from the NBI stating that, amongst all the signatures in these acknowledgement receipts, only a few individuals actually wrote this because they used the handwriting analysis. Furthermore, as to the PSA records, they already stated that Mary Grace Piatos does not exist. I mean, she or he does not have any birth records, death records, or even marriage records. So if the prosecution will advance this argument that Mary Grace Piatos does not exist, he or she is a fictitious individual, bakit nyo binigay sa isang tao na hindi nag-e-exist ang pera na ito? So ang magiging tanong dyan, nasaan na? Saan na napunta yung pera na binigay nyo kina Mary Grace Piatos, Kokoy Villamin, and other fictitious individuals? Kapag hindi ito naipaliwanag ng depensa, then of course, it will be an enormous setback to their defense.
Attorney, I want to go to the issue of the spliced video that was posted by Senator Pia Cayetano, or at least the camp of Senator Pia Cayetano, which is actually recently deleted already, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, this to some, they interpreted this as favorable to the defense and against the prosecution. Now, the question here, could this affect the public's confidence to the impeachment court? And should the Supreme Court, or rather impeachment court, address this today once and for all?
Yes, actually, even before the start of this impeachment trial, kahit pro-Duterte naman or anti-Duterte, ay sinasabi na of course, hindi magiging impartial itong mga senator judges natin, though they took an oath of political neutrality. Lalo na, without naming names, alam naman natin, some of the senator judges, wala naman delikadesa, yung mga yan. But for me,
straight to the point.
The impeachment court must truly address this, right? Kung gusto nilang magtiwala pa yung mga tao dito sa proseso na ito, mapa-Duterte ka man, mapa-pro-Duterte ka man, or mapa-anti-Duterte ka man, the impeachment court must address this because it is bad optics for the impeachment court itself. The presiding officer, with all due respect, can invoke Rule 4 of the impeachment rules of the Senate because he can make orders, he can make or issue orders rather in relation to this impeachment trial. Pwede naman niyang kapag napapansin niya na medyo bias na yung sinasabi ng kanyang senator judge, mag-issue siya ng warning na, okay, let us remember our oath of political neutrality, things like those. However, in Senator Cheese's case, I believe he is too kind to say that or to even give a warning. So let us see kung he will have the courage to reprimand or even issue a warning to his senator judges, though he can do it by virtue of Rule 4. But in fairness to him, fair naman siya sa both prosecution and defense and sa mga senator judges. Yun nga lang, sumusobra. Hindi niya na masaway yung mga lumalabis sa mga speeches nila.
All right. Attorney Jen, we have Attorney Tolosa at a press con right now. We will get back to you. Thank you so much.
That's okay. Thank you.
Lang yan. At the end of the day, yung pinaka-importante is sa amin, ang may discretion ng impeachment court kung ano sa tingin nila mas makakabuti para sa lahat. No, kung mas madaling masubaybayan, maunawaan, no, ng mga kababayan natin, and of course also the individual members of the impeachment court, then they have the discretion to do that. At kung ano man hong magiging decision nila, respetuhin natin yan.
Sir, but regardless, are you ready to proceed with the Article 1?
Yes, no, because our assumption is if it will not change, then we will continue.
Sir, what will be the disadvantages if the defense will have the last word in terms of the discussion of articles?
Well, actually, even dun sa current status and dun sa proposed order, ganyan naman talaga, no? They will always have the last word, no? Ang pinag-uusapan lang naman dito, tatapusin muna ba ng prosecution, ng presentation of evidence for all articles and then defense? Or are we going to do it on a per article basis? So tapusin muna natin sa grave threats, prosecution, then defense. So both scenario, lagi naman they will have the last word.
Sir, pero what are the disadvantages for the prosecution?
Again, pareho lang yan, no? Ganyan talaga ang nature, no, ng lahat ng trial, laging huli ang respondent dahil sila ang susunod na sumagot pagkatapos maglatag ng ebidensya ng prosecution. So, that's normal. No?
Sir, for the record, you are agreeing with the suggestion
Yes, that's correct.
the Senate leadership?
Yes, that's correct. Any other question, Ate? Well, una muna, hintayin muna natin kung anong magiging huling ang pagpapasya ng impeachment court tungkol dito, kung papalitan bang order of presentation of evidence or hindi na, tutuloy na tayo sa Article 1. So kung Article 1 pa rin ang magiging desisyon, no, so mag-shift na tayo, we'll present evidence with respect to the next article, which is confidential funds. We're ready to present witness for this.
Biglaan lang po ba yun? So, suggestion na yun ng Senate President?
It came during the last hearing. No? Yeah, during the last hearing. All right. Okay.
That is the ongoing press conference by the prosecution panel through its spokesperson, Attorney Tolosa Jr. Meantime, we'll get back to our guest for today, Attorney Jen, for her insights about the impeachment trial. Good morning once again, and thank you for joining us.
Good morning. Okay, yeah, good morning again.
Attorney, maybe we can get your thoughts also. No? We heard the reporters asking Attorney Tolosa on what are the advantages and disadvantages of defense presenting last.
Yes.
Your thoughts, Attorney?
Following the new, if ever, alternate presentation of evidence, each article, after the prosecution presents its evidence, the defense will or can already present its counter evidence. Is that what you are referring to?
Yes, Attorney.
Can you? Oh, yes. Well, Depende yan, no? Just like what I mentioned a while ago. Maganda kasi itong magiging alternate presentation of evidence. Kasi fresh pa sa mga tao eh. Na kakatapos pa lamang ng pagpepresenta ng ebidensya ng prosecution, the people have this point of comparison already dahil dali-dalian magpepresenta na ng kanyang ebidensya ang depensa. However, yun nga lang, kung walang ebidensya ang defense and they will just merely deny these allegations, this will also hurt their strategy. Kasi nga, makikita rin ng tao in real time and fresh na fresh doon sa mga sa publiko na, oh, bakit ganon? Hindi mabangga ng defense. Bakit ganon? Wala silang counter evidence or counter arguments. So, it truly depends on whether or not they have evidence or strong arguments. Otherwise, it will be disadvantageous to the defense, this new alternate presentation of evidence.
Well, attorney, we've seen a lot of pictures and videos of prosecution and defense interacting with each other even before the impeachment trial. And this shows us no, na kahit papano there is civility among them. Your thoughts on that? Because both of them now, both panels are already arriving in the impeachment court preparing for the resumption of the impeachment trial today.
Well, the public must emulate them. The public must emulate them. Tandaan po natin, no, tayong mga Pilipino dito, hindi tayo ang magkakaaway, right? So just like these lawyers, even if they represent different or contradicting beliefs or principles, they are still civilized, they are still professionals, they are still decent, and I can only hope that most of the public will emulate or imitate this, na hindi natin kailangang magsakitan at mag-away-away dahil lamang hindi magkakapareho ang ating mga paniniwala. So that is totally normal and actually commendable to the part of the prosecution and defense counsels.
Well, we've also seen Attorney Michael Poa speaking with Attorney Lorna Capunan, and then during the oral arguments, we saw Attorney Poa and of course Congressman Chel Jokno, the level of respect and civility. But what about the senator judges?
Well, some senator judges must actually, imitate the level of professionalism, the level of decency by the people you mentioned. Because actually, I have observed some senator judges are even argumentative to the witnesses and even the prosecution. They cannot deny this. So they must be reminded that they are not counsels of a particular side. They are senator judges. But of course, at the end of the day, they will still say that it is political in nature. These senator judges will still be partial. Pero ganito na lang yung paalala ko sa mga kababayan natin. Sabihin na natin na lahat ng mga senator judges na yan ay may kinakampihan naman talaga, either pro-Duterte or anti-Duterte. Ang maging batayan nyo na lang is, sino ba ang mga senator judges na para sa accountability, na gustong malaman ang katotohanan, at sino yung mga senator judges na tila baga gustong ikuble yung accountability or katotohanan. So yun na lang sana ang maging guide ng mga manonood ng mga Pilipino, kasi sa mga senator judges wala na tayong magagawa. Some of them, truly, to reiterate, they do not have delicadeza, and for lack of a better term, some of them are not fit to be there.
Well, Attorney, I remember, going back to the defense and prosecution panels, I remember the impeachment court asking both sides to appoint a different spokesperson na lang daw. Kasi itong sila Attorney Tolosa and Attorney Michael Poa baka ma-violate daw nila yung sub judice rule if they continue speaking on behalf of their respective sides. Do you agree with that suggestion, Attorney?
Well, not necessarily. Although the rules of impeachment state that the parties and their counsels are prohibited from discussing to the public this case, Ang pinagbabawal lang naman ay yung pagdidiscuss ng merito ng kaso. So if Attorney Tolosa and Attorney Poa can still, effectuate their duties as spokesperson and at the same time part of the defense and prosecution legal team, if they will not violate, meaning disclose the merits of the case, then in my humble opinion, they can still continue to be the spokespersons. But of course, if they want to focus more on their primary duty, which is the legal counsels of the prosecution and defense, pwede rin namang mag-appoint ng another spokesperson. But it does not necessarily mean na hindi naman nila kaya pareho yung duty na yun.
Attorney, since we were talking about the senator judges earlier, I want to ask you about the Senator Marcoleta's manifestation asking the impeachment court to find legal ways for him to be able to participate in the impeachment trial. And Senator Judge or Presiding Officer Cesca Litton-Kalaw said that they are inclined to do this as long as hindi po siya magkaroon or ma-face ng suspension yet ng Sandigan Bayan. So, ano po ba yung legal means na po pwede nilang gawin?
Well, they can request from the court, right? As to this humble request by Senator Marcoleta. Ang magiging problema lamang dyan, what if hypothetically magbaba na ng suspension order ang Sandigan Bayan? So, mapuputol din yung kanyang karapatan na mag-participate dito sa impeachment trial. So, I believe it is wise for the impeachment court to wait first for if there is a suspension order that will be issued by the Sandigan Bayan before they rule on this request. However, para sa
Attorney
akin, karapatan din naman. In fairness naman kay Senator Marcoleta, karapatan din naman niya na magkaroon ng kagustuhan na mag-participate sa impeachment trial. Yun nga lamang,
Attorney Jen, I'm so sorry to cut you there, but the impeachment trial is ongoing right now. Pauline, go ahead.
All right, so data na Vice President Sara Duterte's impeachment trial is now underway. Let's watch this.
Impeachment Court dated July 22, 2026 and shall consider the same as approved. The clerk of court will please call the case before the impeachment court.
Case number 004-2026 in the matter of impeachment trial of Vice President Sara Zimmerman Duterte.
Appearances?
Good morning, Your Honors. Respectfully appearing for the prosecution, we are ready, Your Honor, for the presentation of our initial witnesses for Article 1, that is confidential fund misuse, misappropriation, and irregular liquidation.
Good morning. Appearances for the respondent?
Good morning, Your Honors. Same appearances for the respondent accused.
Good morning as well. Will the lead prosecutor kindly call their first witness for this morning?
Your Honor, may I request that the head prosecutor of Article 1, confidential fund, the Honorable Joel Chua, be recognized, Your Honor.
The Honorable Chua, member of the panel of prosecutors, is recognized to call their first witness to the stand.
Good morning, Your Honor. Your Honor, same appearance for the prosecution. Your Honor, may we be given a 5-minute opening statement? May we request Representative Laila De Lima to be recognized by the Chair, Your Honor?
The Chair would like to remind the Honorable De Lima, if indeed she will make an opening statement, to kindly avoid conclusions of both fact and law, as we have previously agreed upon and raised by the defense in previous hearings, and as pointed out by several senator judges. With that conditionality, the Honorable De Lima may proceed with her opening statement.
Your Honor, may we comment on that matter?
Yes, what is the pleasure of Attorney Poe?
Your Honor, I'd like to apologize for having to comment on this matter, but as far as I recall, the presiding officer already made a ruling before against opening statements, Your Honors.
Again, I will be very conscious, Honorable De Lima, with respect to statements of fact and law that are not coming out from the mouth of any witnesses you will be presenting. So kindly be precise and short with respect to your opening statements. You may proceed, ma'am, subject to those reminders.
Thank you, Mr. Presiding Officer. This is about 5 minutes or a little more than 5 minutes. Mr. Senate President, Mr. Presiding Officer, Honorable Senator Judges, mga kababayan, magandang umaga po. Sa ating pagbabudget para sa pamilya, dahil hindi naman unli ang pera, masinop ang ating paggasta sa talagang kailangan at kapakipakinabang natin nilalaan. Ganyan din dapat sa pondo ng bayan. Sa yugtong ito ng paglilitis, pag-uusapan natin ang confidential funds. Ito ang budget para sa mga sensitibo at surveillance-related activities upang suportahan ang mandato ng mga civilian agencies. That a budget is intended for confidential operations does not mean that the conduct of the officials involved in the handling of people's money is exempted from the demands of transparency, scrutiny, and accountability. Public office is a public trust. Yan ang sabi ng konstitusyon. Sakop nito ang lahat na nasa gobyerno. At na yan, balewalain dahil confidential lang o confidential ang pondo. Ang confidentiality ay para protektahan ang lehitimong operasyon at informant. Hindi ito pahintulot para mag-imbento ng pangalan at dokumento. Hindi ito palusot para ibulsa ang pera. Kung confidential ang pondo, lalo pa ngang mataas ang pananagutang kaakibat nito. The Constitution entrusts this court with the solemn duty to determine whether the respondent Vice President committed culpable violation of the Constitution, graft and corruption, and betrayal of public trust. The evidence will show that she did. This case, Article 1, is about 612.5 million in confidential funds entrusted to VP Sara Duterte through the Office of the President and the Department of Education. This is not about one missing receipt. This is not about a clerical error or accounting mistake. The evidence will reveal a pattern, a systemic course of conduct that, taken as a whole, demonstrates graft and corruption and betrayal of public trust.
With the permission of the Honorable De Lima, yes, Counsel for
Your Honors,
Respondent.
again, Your Honors, I think we have to object to the statements being made by the Honorable De Lima, with all due respect, of course. Your Honors, they can do that through the offer of their evidence, Your Honor.
Chair will instruct the Honorable De Lima to kindly limit her statements. I was listening intently in the beginning. It was okay, Honorable De Lima, but later on, you did make conclusions of law already, which the chair orders to be stricken from the record. You may wind up, Honorable De Lima, but kindly avoid conclusions of fact and law.
Your Honors, please, if I may just be given just a few seconds. Your Honors, ang naging problema natin nung huling pagkakataon na pinayagan natin yung ganitong statement at sinasabi na nga ng presiding officer is kahit naman i-strike off the record natin, narinig na po at nasabi na. So to allow, Your Honors, again, a continuation of such is really goes into the matter of fair play, Your Honor.
Honorable De Lima, kindly wind up. Again, you were forewarned beforehand to kindly limit your statements. Hence, you are faced again with a similar situation. Kindly wind up, Honorable De Lima, and call your witness.
Ang dami pong malalampasan sa aking opening statement because this is supposed to be an overview
it is the
of the
court's
case,
position,
the overview of the evidence.
To let the witnesses speak, not the counsels, insofar as the evidence is concerned or conclusions of both fact and law. Kindly wind up, Honorable De Lima.
I submit to Your Honor, and so I will wind up. Kapag ang isang impeachable officer, tulad ng pangalawang Pangulo, ay nabuso ang kapangyarihan sa paraang sumisira sa accountability
Same
o
objection,
sumusuway
Your
sa
Honor.
pananagutan, dapat pa ba siyang pagkatiwalaan? Dapat pa ba siyang manatili sa pwesto? When the Filipino people entrusted their money to the Vice President Sara Duterte, was that trust honored? That question will not be answered by politics, by general denials, by press releases. It will be answered by the witnesses, by the documents, by audit, and by the evidence, and the prosecution is ready to present it. Sa kabuuan ng ebidensya, makitang hindi lang mga simpleng irregularidad ang nangyari.
Objection, Your Honor.
Malinaw
Again,
ito.
Objection, Your Honor.
Honorable De Lima, I would have to stop you.
This is out of
I would have
line.
to stop you at this point. The continuing objection of the respondent is duly noted. I would have to stop you at this point.
And I have to
my
stop
due
now.
apologies, but kindly call your witness already.
Thank you, Your Honors. I submit. Thank you very much.
Kindly call your witness, Representative Chua.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, we are going to present our first witness in the person of Ms. Violeta Constantino.
The clerk of court, through the sergeant at arms, is instructed to situate Ms. Violeta Constantino to the witness stand. Kindly remain standing, ma'am. Clerk of court is directed to administer the oath to the witness.
Please raise your right hand, ma'am. You, Violeta Constantino, do swear that the evidence you shall give in the case now pending between the Philippines and Vice President Sara Zimmerman Duterte shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help you God.
Kindly be seated, ma'am.
May I proceed, Your Honor?
You may proceed, counsel,
Thank you,
when
Your
you're
Honor.
ready.
Your Honor, we are offering the testimony of Ms. Violeta Constantino to prove the following. Una, na si Ms. Constantino ay isang retiradong department manager ng Land Bank of the Philippines, Show Boulevard Branch from May 2017 to January 2024. Pangalawa, na ang Land Bank of the Philippines, Show Boulevard Branch, ang nagproseso ng encashment ng 4 na tseke payable sa isang Gina F. Acosta sa halagang 125 million each sa mga sumusunod na tseke. Una, Land Bank Check Number 0000244027 na may petsang December 20, 2022. Ikalawa, Land Bank Check Number 0000244053 na may petsang January 31, 2023. Ikatlo, Land Bank Check Number 0000245511 na may petsang April 18, 2023. At ikaapat, Land Bank Check Number 0000245664 na may petsang July 13, 2023. Katlo, na ang mga nasabing tseke ay lahat pinondohan ng Philippine Treasury at nilipat sa account ng Office of the Vice President. Kaapat, na ang 4 na nasabing tseke ay personal na inengcash ng isang Miss Gina F. Acosta bilang SDO o Special Disbursing Officer ng Office of the Vice President noong December 20, 2022, February 6, 2023, April 25, 2023, at July 14, 2023. Ikalima, bilang Department Manager ng Land Bank, Show Boulevard Branch, si Ms. Constantino ay personal na nakasaksi at nag-oversee ng pag-encash at pagtanggap ng pera mula sa tseke ni Ms. Acosta. At ipanghuli, kaanim, iba pang mga bagay-bagay na may kinalaman dito sa impeachment case in relation to Article 1 on confidential funds and in relation to the aforementioned purposes, Your Honor.
The Honorable Chua,
For comment, Your Honor.
Before the comment, what is the third purpose for the offer again?
Your Honor, that all were funded by the Philippine Treasury and drawn against the account of the Office of the Vice President.
Thank you. Comment from the Council for Respondents?
Subject to cross, Your Honor.
May we proceed now, Your Honor?
You may proceed when you're ready.
Okay. The witness, handa na po ba kayo?
Apa.
Na-swear na ba?